Alex, really excited to chat with you. You have this like a really diverse background, and you're really good at what you do. Played in the league, have a lot of speaking clients, and there's a lot of professional speakers out there, but you actually have a vast clientele and like really reputable organizations. I think the thing that stood out to me most from your bio though was that you have 8 kids, and so
That does, yeah.
and I'm probably going to start having a family in the next year or two. Uh, my wife wants to go for like 5. I'm more of the
Ah,
2 camp, but
that's a good
tell me
number.
tell me what it's like having 8 kids. And you were saying that 5 are still at home during the pandemic. So what's it
Yeah.
like being a father of 8 kids,
You
having
know,
5 at home right now?
it's loud, man. It's loud. Like honestly, after three, it's just more laundry, more food. But they start to take care of each other. And it's a joy. I love it. I never in a million years thought that I would have 8 kids. I was thinking like three, you know what I'm saying? And we had three boys, and my wife was like, no, we need to try again. We need to get a girl. And we got a girl. And oh no, she needs a sister. And so I had another girl, and then it just kept going and going, man. But I never in a million years thought that I would be the
Did you come from a big family growing up, or?
no, it's me and my twin brother. Me and my twin brother. Now my wife, now she's a, she's one of four, but um, she has 2 degrees, one in journalism, another one in sports marketing, and she's a mom. She loves being a mom, and she's really good at it. So I've learned a ton from her, man.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned from your wife about parenting that you try and put into practice?
Oh, absolutely, man. Great question. One of the biggest things is leadership. Leadership is so broad. We have people talk about it, and it's like this really big thing, and it is. But how you lead should be foundational. It shouldn't be like in one realm or one side of things you're one way, and then in another you flip it and it's the other. Leadership it should be foundational, and a lot of us we don't understand what leadership really is. And when you boil it all down, man, I boil things down. That's how I understand things. Even football, for me, football, I didn't understand it. And we talked. I was like a late bloomer. I didn't play organized football until 8th grade. But all my buddies, they would play out in the streets when I was fourth and fifth grade. And I kind of pretended that I knew what the game was. And I was frustrated. So I went home. We didn't have the internet back in the 80s, the early 80s, but we did have a set of encyclopedia. So I learned, how to look at things from a foundational principle. So I learned how to play football. And as I got older, you talk about leadership. You got to understand that leadership is influence. So then, how do you influence people? And there's many different ways. You can influence people by the way you communicate, your platform. You have a wonderful platform, your experience, your knowledge, your skills, um, intuition, how you make people feel. But the biggest way is who you are, your character. And for me, that trumps absolutely everything. It's how I live my life. And with my wife, seeing her and who she really is, and then how she communicates to the kids, she gives them a clear vision, and she answers the whys of things. It just seeing her and how she was parented as compared to how I was parented, where it wasn't really um uh uh I want to say it was fear. You know what I'm saying? So there was a fear in there. Like I was scared to death of my dad. And I never wanted to be like that, even though those things made me the type of person I am today, but I don't want to lead by fear. And I think people in different organizations, they do. They kind of lead by fear. I want people I want to make a better version of somebody. I want people, I'm a much better version than I was when I was 22 and 32. I'm 47 now. And I want to help my kids become the best version of themselves. So I want them to understand how they influence people and how they are influenced.
Sounds like the way that you taught yourself football is probably also how you broke into professional speaking and the like executive coaching and this whole like speaker author consultant world we find ourselves in. um, and I know a lot of
Absolutely.
your keynotes are in that leadership cloud, like dealing with change, dealing with pressure. So how did you get into the world of speaking? Because you know I have seen, I used to be in like the National Speakers Association group, and like I have seen a few athletes that then go into speaking, but it's not a lot of people. And then the amount of people that do it well, or do it as long as you've been speaking, and do it with the type of clients that you've had, and impacts real change, it keeps dropping off. So
Mhm.
how did you get into this world, out of all
Y-
the potential things you could do after you retired?
Great question, man. Man, honestly, I was a performance trainer at Nike, and did that for about 12 years. And when people started to find out that I played in the NFL, and not just like played, I was there for 8 years. And so I've seen changes. I know 8 years I had 7 head coaches. That means I had 7 different defensive coordinators, different styles of defenses, different teammates, because in the league, every year there's going to be change, whether it's teammates, whether it's front office, with coaches, there's going to be change. So you got to be able to adapt. And so once people kind of found out about me playing at Nike anyway, they started to, hey, Alex, can you come talk to my group? Hey, Alex, can you come talk to our team about what it takes to succeed as a team? And I was doing that, right? I was having fun. I was just telling stories, but I wasn't connecting the dots. And so when I say by dots, like I wasn't connecting what's the principle, what's the foundational principle of a team or of leadership. And so I finally, like, once I started kind of thinking this through, I knew, number one, I can't do it by myself. If I ever want to have success, I always had a coach. I know how important it is, whether it's in sports, in business, or in life. Man, you need somebody that can that can guide you, that can basically hold a mirror up to your face and tell you, like, not that that's wrong or this is right or you should do it this way, but it's like, hey, what is your intentions, and then your actions, do they align, right? Do they align? So end up getting a coach, and then from there, man, then I started to not just tell cool stories, right, but I started to really look inside my own life and look at some of not just the successes, because success is another influencer of why somebody's going to follow you. But here's another one: failure. Failure. Most of us, myself included, at a certain point, is I didn't want anybody to see my failure. I swept them underneath the rug. I didn't want anybody to see like how I was raised, like in fear, right? I didn't want anybody to know like how I felt when I finished with football and I didn't have everything together. I was lost. And when I started to kind of tie those things together, I was like, man, there's a message in there that can help others. A lot. And not just athletes, but there's a message in there that can help people find the way to their passion and their purpose.
I want to dive into the speaking side of it a little more because there's a lot of people in the Meeting of the Minds community and following this newsletter that do some speaking, I guess kind of like you were at Nike, just sort of on the side, or they were getting some invitations, but want to make it more serious or want to turn it into part of their business and actually get paid for it or increase their fees. There's other people that uh, could be speaking and generating business for their pre-existing company.
Mhm.
And so, given that you were a first principles thinker, how did you break down, the speaking business for yourself? And I guess part of that was getting a coach, and part of that was also like looking at your story and the successes and failures you wanted to talk about, like tying together some of those stories. Um, but yeah, how did you break it down? What specifically were you looking to get coached on?
Mhm.
Any other insights that come up?
Absolutely. So one of the things, like, I always wanna look at if there's um a foundation, a foundational principle that can help me. And for me, because football was something I did since I was, 12 years old, and then when I stopped playing, I was 31. Well, there was some failures in there. There was some injuries, there was some, some heartache, but there was also some things that kind of that helped me along the way. And one of the things is what I'll talk about, and really, it's like it's just it gave me structure to help me break things down to understand who I was. And uh, I'm just going to dive into it. But man, when I finished playing, I was lost. People on the outside, they think, oh man, he had a great career. He has cars, he has homes in different states, and he has a beautiful family.
You were
He
probably
plays
also
golf.
like, what are you were like 30, 32 when you
Yeah,
retired, or?
I was 32, 33 when I really hung it up, when I signed the papers.
Yeah, like
And
like that's,
yeah,
my wife's 32, turning 33 later this year. Like, to think she would retire is
it's
insane. Like,
crazy,
she's only just
right?
getting started,
Crazy,
I mean, I
right?
understand like the physical toll and probably a mental toll that sports can take at that highest level. Or
Yeah,
I mean, I can't fully empathize with that, but I can guess that it takes a toll. But and that's also like the pinnacle of that profession. But in terms of like your overall life, like that's just one small chapter.
yeah, absolutely. And it's like this. Anytime you do something for a long period of time and you really haven't done that soul searching deep down, what are you about? Who are you? What is your passion? What is your purpose? And for me, for the longest, it was football. And so when I finished, it was like intertwined. So my character was wrapped into my ability, and it was wrapped into my platform playing football. And once I stepped away from football, that was that was part of who I was. And I was lost, man. I didn't know who I was. And it really hit me when when I was in San Diego. I was retired, and I was, playing golf, walking the dogs, taking the kids to school. And one of our neighbors, she was the CEO of this nonprofit. She asked me to be, if I can work this part time as a development consultant. Writing grants, making phone calls for different events, and spearheading that. And I didn't have nothing else to do. I can play golf still, right? And then do that. But I said, yeah. So I did that for 6 months. And then we ended up moving up here to Portland, Oregon, because my wife is from here. And we both went to University of Oregon. And, because the housing market was starting to dip, and, we want to be smart about it. So we moved back up here, and um, wasn't doing anything still. But then I saw on the internet, man, there was a job at this nonprofit, and it was development. It wasn't development consultant, a consultant. It was like development director. And I was like, well, I got some experience, and I'm still thinking I'm a football. I'm in the NFL. I'm me, right? And I was like, oh, this is a shoe in. I sent in my resume and did some research, just a little bit of research, and then I got an interview. So I mean, I went there. I was dialed in, man. Ties, shiny belt, shiny shoes, and went in there and met this lady. And she was the director, and sat down, and she started asking me questions about the organization. Checking in to see if I did my homework, and I did to a certain degree. And then she started asking a little bit deeper questions about that organization, like who they serve, how long they've been doing it, what's their purpose, and I didn't know. Then she started asking me questions about myself, like deep questions. I thought she was going to ask me about football and what it gave me and how I see myself. She started asking me deeper questions about who I was. And when she finally asked me, Alex, why do you want this job? I said, I need a job. I need to get out the house. She said, Alex, this is not the job for you. You're not going to get this job. This is not for you. And can I give you a little bit of advice? And, by then, it was very few times that I've heard the word no because of football, the success that it gave me. So I was in my feelings at that point. Like I was, fighting back tears, right? And she said, Alex, let me give you some advice. Before you go on any more job interviews, you need to find out exactly who you are. Because right now, the questions I'm asking you, you don't know who you are. She got up, shook my hand, walked me out the front door. I went to my car and I cried my eyes out. I've never cried that deep before in my life. Like I'm talking about crying, pounding my hands on the steering wheel. This lady who just met me told me I didn't know who I was. Playing in the NFL, I played for 4 different teams. I've been cut, I've been released. It's embarrassing, for you to get the news and then security walks you down into your locker and then you bag up all your stuff in a plastic bag and then they walk you out of the facility. That's embarrassing. I'd much rather get cut 10 times than ever go through that feeling again. And so during that, it felt like forever, but it's about a good 20 minutes. I'm in the parking lot still bawling my eyes out. And it kind of hit me like, okay, I need to start. I need to find out who I am. And one of the things that gave me success on the football field is from a coach. His name was Willie Shaw. I met him. He coached me my second year. He only coached me for 1 year, but in that 1 year, he gave me um, something like this blueprint, this framework to have success. And he told me, he said, Alex, you're fast, you're a first round draft pick. You got the whole world in front of you. But if you want to play a long time in this league, you got to remember these 3 things. And I was like, man, I was like, just waiting. 3 things. Yes, yes, coach. What? He said alignment, assignment, adjustment. I was like, that's it. What? That's it. That's the golden ticket. I don't need to jump 40 inches. I don't need to run a 4.3. What are you talking about? He said, Alex, you need to know how you align on every play. You also need to know your assignment. And then you got to be ready to adjust. And so with that, and I go deeper into my talks, but with that, I just kind of took that framework from the football field because it gave me success. There's no way I could have played as long as I have. And I took that framework and I put it into my life. I need to align with who I am. Like, what is deep down? Who am I? And what am I about? And I wasn't aligned with, I figured it out. It took me a while, but with my faith, I was misaligned. It was for many years, it was career, it was family, and then it was my faith, and then hobbies. Once I got aligned to like my faith, and then my faith told me like my family should be right there, and then my career. That gave me a totally different mindset. And it gave me everything got aligned. Once I got aligned with that for me, and then my assignment. In my assignment, I need to know my job. I need to know what exactly my job was on the field. And then people around you, other people's job. And I talk about this when I talk to different teams and corporations. It's not just you knowing your job inside and out. You need to know the other people's jobs. Not that you're going to take their job, but you need to know their responsibilities. So then you know where they are. You can hold them accountable. They can hold you accountable. And so you need to know your assignment. Well, for me, I need to know my assignment was finding out who I am. What did I like? What did I not like? What was I passionate about? How do I want to be seen? And then the third thing is adjustment. You got to be able to adjust. On a football field, the game, there's never a moment when a team just lines up and hikes the ball, especially at the highest level. They call audibles. There's check with me's. There's motions. There's shifts. You have to be ready to adjust. Well, off the football, I need to be ready to adjust how I treat myself. Number one, how I treat myself and how I'm viewed, how I can use, the celebrity to get to navigate. But number one, I need to adjust my character. For so long, man, I was that dude, I was that entitled athlete. Everything opens for me. I had to adjust my mindset with that. And once I started doing that, I understood that alignment, assignment, adjustment for myself. Then once I'm able to start talking to people, it really kind of opened up. Instead of me just talking about football, I really started opening up about talking about sharing different principles.
Yeah, that sparks a lot of questions for me. I think the two that are most relevant for this conversation, or for my audience at least, and with the time that we have, is one. I think a lot of people say some version of realigning the faith, family, work, hobby stuff, or health. Um, how do you actually execute on that day to day, so that you're, I guess, in alignment with yourself?
Mhm.
And then two, I'd be curious to know how you've been navigating the pandemic, given that a lot of your business was probably speaking in person to organizations, and I'm curious if that's been able to continue just virtually with groups, or you've had to take on other assignments in the meantime to keep your business running and to keep things moving. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think a
So
lot of people will say certain things about where if their family's above their career, but maybe they're still not doing that. So how do you actually practice what you preach, or how do you make sure that that's always like you're always keeping your faith top of mind, you're always keeping your family first and then career? What does that look like on a practical level?
absolutely. Great question. And you already said it. Practice is practice. So for me, it's like, man, I make sure I get up and I practice with my faith. And I try to make things as easy as possible. So I have a book that it's not a Bible, but it's like a 30 day, or not 30 days, it's um a year long, like he just gives some, a different principle that's in the Bible, or I won't say scripture, but it gives a different principle. And it's a short read, but I read it and it just gets my mind going. I read it and then I look at what the principle is, and I was like, oh man, now how can I view that? How can I search for that today in life? Whether I'm in the home with my wife or with the kids, or when I'm coaching my clients, or when I, interacting with people, how can that show up? How can I practice these things? So I'm always looking for that. Um, so that's number one. It's like really like I look to practice it. And, I want to be someone where I don't have to tell people that I'm a Christian. People should see that, right? If it's part of my character, who I am, they should be able to see it. And not just here, but on social media, when they talk to me, when they interact with me, when they see me out and about. I want them to be able to see that. So, um, I practice it,
I think
and
that's really
I have
interesting that,
accountability. Yeah.
yeah, sorry to cut you off. I think it's really interesting that you have those prompts as opposed to doing like some sort of journaling exercise where you're trying to come up with the material. Because I'm sure you've heard of like, let's do a gratitude journal if you want to practice gratitude, but then like you have to generate those ideas and put it to paper as opposed to um, being inspired by something else and then trying to put it into practice. Um, so that's really interesting, and I know there's like other versions of that that aren't
Mhm.
faith based. Um, like Ryan Holiday has his like stoic daily stoic journal. So if you wanted to practice more stoicism, then you could like get a book like that, and it gives you daily prompts. Or I
Mhm.
guess you could go on YouTube and watch like a motivational video every morning, and be inspired that way,
Yeah.
and just or I guess you could read certain newspapers. Yeah, I just think it's interesting that it's more of a prompt and think about it throughout the day sort of approach. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I try to keep it simple. So that's one way. But then I love hearing stories where people, so podcasts. So I listen to, different podcasts and whatnot. But when people have overcome certain things, right? When people have overcome, man, that gets me going. What I'm saying? So, because I know I'm not the only one who's overcome some things. And really, like, the person that you are is because of some of those things. It is because of all those things that's happened to you. So instead of using that as like a poor me, why is this me? This is shaping you. Now it's up to you to be able to see it in a different light. Like, how can I shape this to benefit me? So, um I and from time to time I journal. I try to like keep my thoughts down. I'll write them down. And you're talking about what I've been doing since this pandemic.
But what
And
about
really,
the family side first, real quick? Because I think
yeah.
that's also a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs in general. Is I want to prioritize family. I want to prioritize my relationships, but then you get caught up in work, and what you say versus what actually gets prioritized could be different. So
Mhm.
how do you go about prioritizing family as second to faith, but before your career, in terms of some of those daily practices or things that you do regularly?
So for me, it's being intentional. Just like anything, I'm being intentional. So when anytime any of my kids, like when we're talking or whatnot, or they want to just disturb me, or man, I put down my phone. I put my eyes. It's tough during on Sundays when football is on. I try my best, and I'm still I'm a work in progress, but I try to like be intentional with them. I want them to be like, when I'm not there, they know they can count on me. When anytime my kids leave me, they go out the house, or we hang up the phone or FaceTime, whatever, I let them know I love them. They should already know this, but I make it a point to practice telling them, my sons and my daughters, hey, I love you. It's something I didn't get when I was growing up. My dad was a drill sergeant. You know, his father passed away when he was like 12. So he didn't get all those hugs. He didn't get all that. And the way he raised me has shaped me to become the person that I am. And I want to flip it and not just say go opposite, but I want my kids to know. I want my wife to know, hey, before, once we get in, I come from outside. Hey, I might have did some things, I didn't take out the garbage, or I said I was going to do something I didn't. You got to first give me a hug. You got to give me a hug first. So, and then, when I am training, coaching, when I'm at work, I make sure I call her or at least text her before noon. Before noon, no matter what, I got to shoot her a text or I got to call. So just little prompts to let them know I'm thinking of them. They mean something to me.
What about real quick for the kids that are out of the house, that are now more distant than the five that are at home that you can see every day?
Yeah. So I still I shoot them a text. I call them. I have a son now he's about to start his journey in the NFL. And so he's down in Irvine, California. He's training. And so I just shoot him a text. If I don't shoot him a text, I'll call him. If I don't do that, I'll FaceTime him. If not that, at least I'll send them something on social media. Hey, was thinking about you. Check this out. So they know that I'm involved, even though I'm not, they might not see me, but I'm always thinking about them and I let them know. So I practice that. I practice that relationship because I want to have a relationship with my kids that, man, if anything happens to them, I don't want them to think there's going to be any judgment. There's not going to be, and I want them to let me know, how can I help? So I'm constantly keeping that communication. I'm working on those relationships, and all of them are different.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Um,
Yeah.
on the work side of things, how have you navigated the pandemic, and how have your assignments changed in order to keep the business going, keep your family fed and you busy?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to adjust, right? So adjustment is one of the principles that I live by. So um, I've used this time, and I've been saying it for years, but writing a book. Well, I'm halfway done now, and I know this is something that is going to be great for me, but it also great for the individuals who read it. And I'm being more specific to, because I was that athlete that finished playing. And I know there's plenty of other high school or college or even pro athletes that once they finish, man, they're lost. They don't, just because they got a degree, or they might not have ended their careers the way they wanted to. They're trapped. They feel like they don't know, what's the next step. How do I use relationships, relationship equity? How do I show up in these different environments? And so I'm writing this book to help those athletes use their platform. And really the biggest thing is who they are, to help open doors to whether you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a journalist, or if you want to be in real estate, doesn't matter. But the biggest thing is understanding who you are. So I'm in the process of writing a book. Um, I've never really talked to really colleges, but now I'm I'm reaching out to different colleges and let them know my what I speak on. And so I've kind of adapted, and that's what it's about. You got to be able to adapt with the environment, not just use the environment as oh, this is terrible. Yeah, it's bad, but it's bad for everybody. So now what?
How are you staying motivated on the book front? Because that's also something that you have in common with a lot of people that'll listen to this or watch it. They're in the process of writing a book. They're wanting to write a book. Maybe they're on their second book. Uh, how do you stay motivated to do that and also get it done, instead of letting it take years and years, um, while at the same time balancing that writing the book isn't paying you right now and isn't generating revenue? Like, certainly could,
Yeah.
and will when you get your book deal, or when you leverage it for more speaking gigs, or how the many benefits of becoming an author. Um, but in the moment, how are you handling those emotions or that challenge? If it
Well,
is a challenge for you, maybe it isn't.
yeah, no, 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 for real. No, it was for a couple of years until one of the things that I really, really believe in, because it gave me success so much on the field and off the field, and I've seen it, is coaching. I got a coach. I got a book writing coach that we meet every Monday, and he keeps me accountable. He gives me a task. Okay, Alex, we got to get this done. So that helps me so much. It helps me so much because now I got somebody. So not just me, like, man, I'm letting myself down. No, I got this dude who I'm paying, his job is to keep me on task. And if I'm not doing that, what's that saying about me? I'm telling him that this is important to me, but I'm not showing. I'm not my actions and my words, they're not aligned. So I got a coach, man. And it's like in any area of my life where I'm stuck or I want to get more out of, I want to 10x it, I get a coach. And I don't get just any coach, but I make sure like that coach, yeah, he got to have success. Yes, he has to have some type of platform. What is his character like?
I was going
That's
to ask
that's
to go a
number
little
one.
deeper on the coach thing because you told me before we hit record that you played under 7 different coaches um, in the league, and then you probably had your college coaches, your high school coaches. You had people that you hired on your own or worked with as uh, assistant coaches. Uh, you've been coached by a lot of different people, and then you offer coaching. You've been a coach in some ways to your speaking clients. You've hired various coaches to for the speaking business for the book. Uh, how how do you think about what separates a great coach from everyone else? Because again, a lot of people listening to this either have a coaching practice, and so I think it'd be good to figure out how they are going to distance themselves from the competition. Um, and there's also we're all looking potentially for coaches or should be, and yet there's just a deluge of people that offer coaching services for everything.
Mhm,
uh,
mhm,
and I thought there was going to be less coaches because of the pandemic. People would go out of business. In fact, there's more because people
mm.
are transitioning into coaching from other jobs or job loss. So yeah, what makes a great coach in your opinion? uh, you were going into it a little bit in terms
Yeah,
of character, and I guess how do you assess some of that stuff?
absolutely. So, like I said, the biggest thing is like what type of character do they have? Do their words align with their actions, and are they intentional? Um, for me, like I said, I have plenty of coaches on the football field, but what separated Willie Shaw, is he gave us a framework, and he would always ask questions. He was a guy who asked more questions than giving us the answer. He wanted us to be able to find the answer, because then he knew that it would stick. It would go a lot deeper, and you will remember why. Why does a quarterback, um, when they do a 5-step drop, what's the difference between a read route and a timing route? I had no clue before. I said, I didn't even know I just think it was a 5-step drop. Yeah, think deeper. When it's a 5-step drop and he sits back there and he holds it, that's a read route. When you do a 5-step drop and then once he gets to his 5th step, that's a timing. He's throwing it to a spot. That receiver's got to get there. That just blew my mind. Like, what? Okay, so now what are the different routes that come with that? So he didn't give it to me. I had to watch film. I had to watch film. Be like, okay, the next day I said, there's 2 routes. There's a skinny post and there's an out route. He said, correct. Now look at the receiver. What type of information is he giving you? Oh, man, I had to go back and watch more film, because he didn't just give me the answer. I had to go look. And I said, well, he stems a certain, if he's at the bottom of the numbers and he stems to the top of the numbers, I know it's going to be a skinny post. He said, bingo. So I want, how I coach, I don't give answers. If you're looking for like a genie or a guru, I don't do that. All I do, I ask you where you want to go. What type of character does it take for you to get there? And then I ask questions based off what I see, not off your words. Because I've been around some smooth talking cats. You wouldn't believe some of the smooth talking cats inside the locker room, and then those people who are trying to influence those professional athletes. I've been around some smooth talkers. I can see through BS now. Back then I
Is that
didn't.
is that how you filter out for people helping you with the book or with speaking, as well as seeing how they uh, maybe do an initial coaching session or a discovery session with you, and if they're just talking at you versus asking a lot of questions and things like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not for everybody. Even when I was training, when I was training athletes and whatnot, I made sure that I'm not for everybody. I don't put up with this. Yeah, another coach, I don't care how much money doesn't, no, because that can cloud things. I said, I deal with a certain type of person. If you fit that criteria, and if you can understand, like, man, with anything, if you want to get results, if you want to get like that 10x, you want to get up here, many times, a lot of times, you have to separate your feelings from facts. Like how you feel about things there was many a times when I was playing football, I didn't feel like getting up and training at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't feel like it. I knew early on I got to separate feelings, and I still got to do it. No matter how you feel, if you want to get somewhere, there's a certain process that you have to take, and it doesn't matter how you feel. There's going to be days when the sun is out, you want to go out there and train. You just hit your number, your quota. Oh yeah, now I'm going to have my coaching session with Alex. No, no. You got to be able to, no matter how you feel, you if you want to reach that certain goal or a certain thing, it doesn't matter how you feel. So I look for that, and I make sure I'm clear with my potential clients. And I make sure I let them know who I am, what I'm about. So there's no like, well, I didn't know he changed, he was this. No, I'll let you know.
What about on the flip side, like any questions that you ask people before you hire them to coach you, or that you would recommend we ask potential uh, coaches trying to sell us on their services?
Typically, I sit back before they're able to act a certain way, because you can ask those questions and they can give you the best answers. I do my research on people, and it's because of different relationships that I have. I can ask somebody and tell me what they think of different people. Let me know. I ask somebody, I ask Eric, hey, what you think about Jared? Or I can just go online. I can see how you interact with people. And I can go, this cool thing about the internet, man, social media, I can go way back. I can be like, nah, why would I want to help this person if they're a drug dealer? Why would I want to help them become a better leader, a
I'm not
better
a drug dealer,
influencer?
just letting everyone know.
But so I can help somebody become better at being whatever. So I do my homework, make sure that I don't want to help somebody become a better terrorist. I don't want them to help them become a better drug dealer. So I do my homework, because the things that I have to share, it will help you become better at anything. So, because leadership is everywhere, man.
Yeah, I think that's really important on both ends, in taking on a potential client, because your reputation is what your clients do, and then what, who they go and talk to about you. So making sure you choose the right clients, I think, is super important. And then also choosing the right coaches and doing your homework on them through referrals and uh, going online and researching and then seeing how they interact with you. Um, yeah, this is all great stuff. Uh,
Absolutely. Thank you.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Where can we go learn more about you? Uh, what's the best way to get in touch with you? When do you think the book's going to be out?
Gotcha. Thank you. Like I said, I try to keep it simple. So alexmolden.com, on there, it has how you can get in contact with me. I have a my podcast called The Shark Effect. That's on there, and it's on. I mean, it's on all the podcasts, the platforms, but it's called The Shark Effect. But yeah, you just go to my website, it has all my information there. What I'm aligned to, to doing and how I can assist. But yeah, and it has all my social, just Alex Molden, anywhere and everywhere. So yeah. Now, and
Yeah.
the book will be out by May. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
May
I
1st.
can't
That's
wait
what
to
we're
read
shooting
it.
for. May 1st. Yeah, thank you. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but it's good to kind of let this stuff out. And it's not just, it's not just about my stories, but different athletes, different people who have been, they've one way of thinking, and now they've, I wanted what made them successful off the field. Did they use some of those same principles on the field? I want to pull that out. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting read. Can't wait to check it out.
Cool.
Cool, Alex.
Yeah.
Well, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for being here. I appreciate it.
Jared, I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Love how you're showing up in the world.
Thank you.